There's a secret in the gardening world that doesn't require piles steaming like chimneys or constant turning with sweaty effort. It's a method so simple and yet so powerful that it quietly produces humus, the black, crumbly gold every gardener dreams of, without the stress of hot composting. While hot piles demand exact conditions, regular monitoring and heaps of energy, this cold approach lets nature do the work for you. The best part? The results are more stable, long-lasting and nutrient-rich than many fast-cooked composts. If you struggle to keep your compost pile hot or just don't have the time to manage it, this slow brewing process might be the breakthrough your soil has been waiting for. Why cold composting wins the race in the long run? Hot composting has always been advertised as the fastest way to transform waste into usable fertilizer, but speed doesn't always mean quality. The extreme heat of a hot pile certainly kills pathogens and weeds, but it also burns off delicate organic compounds and drives away many beneficial microorganisms. Cold composting, on the other hand, works at natural ground temperatures. Instead of rushing the breakdown, it nurtures a balanced ecosystem of fungi, bacteria and soil creatures that patiently convert scraps and plant matter into humus. This humus doesn't just feed plants for a season. It builds long-term fertility by binding soil particles, improving aeration and holding water like a sponge. By choosing cold composting, you're not just making fertilizer. You're cultivating a living soil amendment that fuels plant health for years. And unlike hot piles, there's no constant turning, no chasing the thermometer, and no giant heaps taking over your garden space. You set it up, you feed it, and you let nature work. You know, the beauty of cold composting really lies in its simplicity. You don't need a special bin, although having a contained space sure helps keep things tidy. A shaded corner of the garden or maybe a sturdy wooden or wire bin works just perfectly. The goal here is to create layers of organic matter that will decompose steadily over time. So to get started, you want to lay down a base layer of coarse material, things like small twigs, chopped stalks or even shredded sticks. This encourages airflow and drainage right at the bottom. On top of that, add a mix of green materials such as kitchen scraps, fresh weeds or grass clippings, and then follow up with a layer of brown materials like dried leaves, shredded cardboard or straw. Just keep alternating green and brown layers, always finishing off with a carbon-rich brown topping to help deter flies and smells. Moisture? Well, it's key, but you sure don't want a soggy mess. The pile should feel like a wrung-out sponge, damp but not dripping. If it's too dry, just sprinkle with water as you build. If it's too wet, toss in more browns to balance it out. Once your pile is built, there's really no need to turn or fuss. Time, in this case, is the magic ingredient. Cold composting really thrives on balance, you know. Microbes, they need nitrogen to grow and carbon to build structure. So the mix of green to brown matters quite a bit. A simple rule of thumb is to use 1 part green for every 2 to 3 parts brown. Kitchen scraps, coffee grounds and fresh weeds, well, they bring the nitrogen punch, while leaves, straw and shredded cardboard provide the carbon backbone. To supercharge decomposition and keep the microbial army happy, you can prepare a natural ferment starter that wakes up the process. Here's a powerful recipe you can make right at home. Collect 1 kilogram of fresh plant material, such as weeds, green leaves or vegetable scraps. Chop it finely and place it in a bucket. Add 100 grams of brown sugar or molasses. This, my friends, feeds the microbes. Pour in 10 litres of clean water and stir thoroughly. Cover loosely with a lid or cloth and leave it in a shaded place for 7 to 10 days, stirring every other day. Once ready, dilute 1 litre of this fermented liquid in 10 litres of water and sprinkle it over your cold compost pile. This boosts microbial diversity and speeds up humus formation without forcing heat. What really sets cold composting apart is the way it invites fungi and soil-dwelling creatures to join in the transformation, you know? Fungi are just masters at breaking down lignin and cellulose, the tough fibres you find in stems, branches and leaves. While a hot pile burns fast and kind of pushes fungi out, a cold pile allows their white threads, called mycelium, to spread freely. This creates a network that doesn't just break down material but also links directly to plant roots when the compost is finally used in soil. Worms, beetles and other critters really thrive in the cooler environment. They shred organic matter, mix it all up and leave behind castings that are just packed with nutrients. The result is compost with a texture and smell much closer to natural forest soil, dark, moist and absolutely teeming with life. This is true humus, not just broken down scraps. Patience, well, that's the trade-off with cold composting. While hot piles can deliver finished compost in just a matter of weeks, a cold pile takes anywhere from 6 months to a year. The time really depends on the materials you use, the climate, and how often you feed the pile. But you know, this slower pace is not wasted. It ensures that nutrients are released gradually and stabilized in forms that plants can actually use. So, to check if your compost is ready, just dig into the pile after several months. If the material you find is dark, crumbly and smells like rich earth, well, that means it has matured into humus. But if you can still spot food scraps or leaves, you'll want to give it a bit more time. A good trick, by the way, is to start multiple piles at different times so you always have one maturing while another is being filled. The moment you spread cold compost humus into your beds, the difference, honestly, is striking. The soil holds water longer, so your plants stay resilient even during dry spells. Roots will spread deeper, thanks to that improved structure. Nutrients are released steadily, which eliminates that feast and famine cycle you often see with chemical fertilizers. And because humus is biologically alive, it strengthens natural defenses, making your plants less vulnerable to pests and diseases. Another overlooked benefit, and it's a big one, is carbon storage. By composting cold and slow, you lock carbon into the soil instead of letting it escape into the atmosphere. This makes your garden, well, part of the solution in fighting climate change, while also rewarding you with thriving crops and healthier harvests. Now, even though cold composting is pretty forgiving, there are, well, a few pitfalls that can really slow down or even ruin the process. If you add too many kitchen scraps without enough browns, you'll probably notice some foul smells and you might even attract pests. Piling everything in too tightly without enough airflow can create these anaerobic pockets that end up rotting instead of decomposing. And honestly, forgetting to cover your pile during those heavy rains can just wash away all those precious nutrients. So, always keep balance, air and cover in mind. If you do, your pile will reward you year after year. You know, not everyone has the time or space for one of those perfectly managed hot compost piles. Cold composting really takes the pressure off. You can just add material gradually as it becomes available, without having to worry about building a massive heap all at once. There's no stress about maintaining exact temperatures or flipping those heavy piles every single week. Instead, you simply let nature follow its own rhythm. And honestly, the results are often even more nourishing and resilient than what hot piles deliver. Perhaps the most satisfying part of this method is how it transforms everyday waste into a long-term gift for your soil. Every peel, leaf and scrap you feed into your cold pile is a deposit into your soil's fertility bank. And you know, unlike quick fixes, the dividends from humus last far longer. This is not just about gardening, it's about building an ecosystem that sustains itself with minimal effort from you. Cold composting is not just an alternative to hot composting. It's a smarter, more sustainable way to create humus. It lets you step back and trust nature's pace, while rewarding you with the richest soil amendment you can give your garden. If you've been frustrated by the demands of hot piles, or if you simply want a method that delivers long-lasting fertility without the fuss, then this is the path worth taking. Let your garden experience the true magic of humus. Set up a pile, feed it, give it time, and watch your soil come alive like never before. And if you found this guide valuable, don't forget to hit subscribe to Growth Hub Central Crops. Share this video with fellow gardeners and keep building soil that thrives season after season.